Hello all, welcome to another edition of Kupers Commentaries. This is episode number 7. Today's episode I'm just going to go over the basics of commanding. So this is fight commanding, how to do fight commanding, my tips for fight commanding. So this is fight commanding 101. Okay, here we go. So first things first, I want to talk about what you want to do before the engagement. So before you even push into an enemy group, these are the things that you need to do as a commander, as a leader of the group. Sounds basic, but set your parties up correctly. So you want to have two guardians per party minimum, and this is to sort out stability rotation. So you'd have one guardian on one stability called stab 1 or stability 1. You'll have the second guardian on stability 2, which is when the stability from the first guardian's shout runs out. The second guardian will pop his. That gives a more spread of stability and keeps for a longer uptime of stability. Second thing you want to do when you're approaching an enemy group, when you see each other, you're staring at each other across the battlefield, you want to look at the enemy group, see what the makeup of the group is, how big they are, if it's a guild group, is it a blob, estimate how many numbers, try and work out if it's a heavy melee group or a heavy ranged group. These are all things that factor in how you're going to do the next part, which is the fight, and it will determine where you wish to push, whether you want to kite a bit first. If it's a huge blob, you want to do a bit of a kite first to try and spread them out, so you're not taking all that damage straight away. If it's a smaller group, smaller than your group, you might want to do a one push, which is just run at them and kill them very fast because you've got the number advantage, and you want to look at what boons they've got on them at the moment, what their swiftness stacks are at, protection stacks, how much duration, all that kind of thing you want to be looking at. This is before the engagement. Okay, so you're racing against each other. You obviously stack the group together. This keeps your melee train tight. Reason you want your melee train tight together is, say you're running down chasing one or two players or a group of say 5 players in front of you, you want all those melee players in your group to be hitting the same target, and that is basically where your commander tag is, where your pin is where the damage is going to be dropped. So if you have a tight melee train, you have 10 players all auto attacking or whatever at the same time, that player in front of your commander tag should be downed instantly. Keeping the melee tight as well also negates damage with the, as we all know, Guild Wars has a 5 AoE cap. So if you have 10 players stacked tight, that's going to spread your damage between those 10 players rather than having 5 players stacked and taking all that damage. Having 10 players or plus 10 players spreads that damage out between those members of your squad, and negates more damage. Okay, and the third thing you want to think about is your empower timing. Before an engagement, you don't want to pop your empower too early. You want to try and keep those might stacks on yourself as long as possible during the fight, so you're trying to time your empower as late as possible without sacrificing your ability to move. You don't want to empower too late, and by the time you've finished empowering, the enemy group is on top of you because you'll wipe. And you don't want to empower too early, and by the time you reach the enemy group, that your might stacks that you've just empowered start dropping off. You want to try and time it where the empower is just right, where you're going in, your damage is high for the first 5 seconds or so, to get your initial spike of damage up as high as possible. One little thing I'd like to add is what you can also do before the full engagement is a couple of fake pushes where you try and bait out AoE damage from the enemy group by faking a push, and hopefully some of the players that are a bit jittery will end up using bigger cooldowns before you're actually fully committed to a fight. You just do a couple of fake pushes, you move towards them and then you move away, you fake the engagement, and maybe some guardians will pop a few stabilities, maybe a meteor shower or 2 will get cast, or maybe a well will get placed, some big cooldown you want to try and bait out of the enemy group before you're actually ready to push. In this clip, the enemy group does a fake push. Some of the players do actually push through and end up dying, but it does bait out quite a few damage skills from our group. So that was a fake push by the enemy group there. So now we're moving on to what to do during a fight and at the start of a fight. So one of the most important things you can decide to do is where you want to push. What's where you want to actually drop your damage, where you're going to walk to during the fight. And generally there's 3 areas you want to drop your damage, and that is at the front of the enemy group. So that would be a kite and a spike, so you move backwards and hit the front of the melee train as they come to you, or you run to the front of their melee train and hit them in a clash where you go to the front edge only. So that is the front, which you'll see in this clip. The second part is the midline, which is basically which direction the enemy is running to. So if they're running across to the left or across to the right, you're going to try and hit them in the midline. So those behind their commander have to run through all your damage to catch up to the commander, and you should get a lot of the slackers at the back of the group pushing the midline there. And then the third and last group that you want to push on is the rear of the enemy group, usually the casters with necromancers, Ellies, things like that. So if you have a superior group in the melee, so your melee is stronger than the enemy melee, you want to try and push to that rear group, take out those casters, and then go back on yourself, back through the melee, to try and finish off those casters at the back as soon as possible. So those are the 3 areas you want to either hit the front, the mid, or the rear. You can also do things like hitting the left side or the right hand side of a group, but you just call that in TeamSpeak very simply. Left hand side of the ball, right hand side of the ball, front of the ball, middle of the ball, back of the ball. You say it in TeamSpeak where you want to push. And it feeds back into the first points where you want to watch the enemy group, see where they're moving, and then take advantage of that push that they do. You want to try and counter their push. So you either counter it with a hit in the front, you counter it by hitting the mid if they go left or right, or if they're inferior group size in terms of numbers to your group, you want to push to the back and hit those casters, get them killed fast. Another thing I'd like to say is what I call back spiking, which is baiting a push from the enemy group. You basically invite their melee to push your rear, so you open up a flank to yourself in the anticipation that you are going to turn around and push to wherever they push to. So that'll be a kill zone. So that's what I call back spiking, which is when you fake a push and then turn around and hit wherever they're going to try and hit. So you try and counter their spike with your spike. And I've got 2 examples here. You can see I push to the melee and I just instantly turn around and follow this group behind me, and we spike behind where they're spiking. So that was a back spike there. You basically spike behind yourself, you turn the melee ball around and chase their melee ball. One very last thing I'd like to add is the addition of moving waters in battles. That is, in the middle of a fight, instead of going for a full regroup, you go for a very fast blast of water, which is a moving water. So you'd call the water field and placement for your melee train to continuously move, blast, and then you can then be aggressive again. So it's just a quick boost to heal and you're back on the attack. As a commander, you want to call that out in TeamSpeak where you want it placed. So you'd say moving waters towards garrison, moving waters towards hills, moving waters towards bay. It doesn't really matter, just as long as you give a direction. But you want to call moving waters, and that is a regroup without regrouping. That is just a quick boost to heal and a straight attack back on them. Okay, so the last thing, obviously the final thing of a fight, is a regroup. You want to try and get your healing up. So there are 2 ways to heal, 2 ways to regroup. There is a clean regroup, which is move away from the enemy group, go into empty ground, there's no AoE on the floor, clean ground, clean regroup to drop your water field, get everyone up. Time to empower, that's the most important thing on regroups, is your empower timing. So the first one is a clean regroup, that is you back away from the enemy group and you heal freely, you empower freely. The second way of regrouping is an aggressive empower, which is if you haven't taken too much damage during a fight, in the middle of a clash, in the middle of a battle, you can then follow up onto the enemy regroup and you empower on top of their regroup, and you should get kills that way very easily, is by pushing enemy regroups. And the next couple of clips are just showing you empower timings. The first clip my empower timing is off. By the time I finish my empower, the enemy group is on top of me. We're taking damage. That is a bad empower timing. And the second clip is one of an enemy group who has a bad empower timing, which results in them wiping. So you want to try and make sure you time that empower on a regroup. If you can't do it, don't do the empower, or do a half empower and you just move off straight away. So now I'm going to show you 3 complete fights, trying to talk about the regroups and empowers and pushing and where we want to push, things like that. So first things first, this group empowers too early, so I just pull away, make them waste their might stacks. I get a good empower timing off there. They're pushing around the right side. I go for the front of the enemy group, follow them around for a back spike. Here comes the back spike. There's one down straight away. I need to regroup now. The enemy's regrouping. There's a lot of downs in the distance, so I don't want to go for an empower. I do moving waters as my regroup. So we blast it and we push onto those downs, get those finished kills. Second group come around the left hand side now, so I want to push around the right hand side to the empty space. I do an aggressive empower. We take a lot of damage. I roll off to the right hand side where it's empty space, nice and safe. We can see that the enemy group is starting to break now. There's a lot of downs in the distance still. They're all at half health. Look at our squad UI. We're quite full health, some of us. So I just continue to push. There's no need to regroup just yet. We still get some kills off. Now I need to go for a quick regroup. We don't need to stand in empower. I want to finish off this group fast because they're starting to break. So I go for a quick blast of water and I push onto their regroup as fast as I can. The enemy groups go for a poor empower time in there. I'm on top of them by the time they finish their empower. And this is where I do my second aggressive empower. Aggressive regroup, healing up on the spike, lots of downs. That's where the fight is won. They should not have gone for an empower on their regroup because we caught up to them by the time they finished their empower, and that gave us for a very strong midline spike. If I show you the midline spike now, you can see as they run through our group, they just go down instantly because they've got to run through that damage to get to where their commander's telling them to go to, and they end up getting killed for it. This next clip takes use of aggressive empowers and back spiking, so we get a nice clean regroup, a nice easy empower on the spike. They've empowered, we've empowered. I push to them. They're going around the right side of the house. I open up my left flank, inviting a back push on the left hand side. They don't go for it, so I just line of sight them around the house. They go around the left hand side now, so I just follow them around the left hand side. We have not empowered, they are now empowering, so I go for a back spike. I don't want to push deep on this group because they've got their might stacks up. That's a good empower from them. We get a strong, very strong back spike on this melee group. We take damage, they take damage, lots of kills on our side for us. So I get a nice easy clean regroup. Now they've gone for a regroup, we've gone for a regroup, easy clean ground, very strong regroup there, easy empowers. So now we can push their regroup. Their regroup's quite slow because they had down players, so they're slow to go on the regroup. We can now push their caster ball. So for now I'm going to ignore the melee train, pushing off in the distance there and finish off as many casters as we can get. I feel our melee train is stronger than their melee train right now because we are more health. So I need to go for a regroup soon because look at my squad UI, we're going for a second clash on their melee group. Push out to the edges of the spike there for the regroup. Very quick blast of water, and now we push their regroup once again. We have not empowered, so I want to do an aggressive empower next. They're starting to break, so I want to finish them off fast. There's all the casters down, so now I want to finish the melee off. They go static on the house. This is where the aggressive regroup comes on. We regroup on the downs, so these should be guaranteed kills on the aggressive empower because the killed players are in our melee train for an extended period of time. So we just run over the kills now. This fight's pretty much over. So that's where the fight was won. We managed to regroup much faster than they did, and we managed to do the aggressive empowers on the kills, which made them guaranteed kills. Okay, so the final clip is quite a long open field battle, defending Bay. So that was after the fake push that I showed earlier. This is us pushing out now. They back away slightly, so we're able to come out the gate. Don't want to push too deep, there's a lot of players there, so I pull off a quick regroup. Let's heal up since we've come out the gate. They back away, back on the path. It's multiple groups from Jade C, and there's one group of Gandara in the distance in the top left, so they've backed away. This is a huge group, second group coming around the left hand side, so I need to kite back. I don't want to get side swiped from them, so this is where the kite and spike starts. So we're kiting back as we drop damage, dropping CC in front. We get one kill there with the kite and spike. Pick a group to push on since they've stopped pushing. This group is static, do not be static in World v World, keep moving. This group is static, so we get easy kills on the front edge of the group there. Pull off a nice clean regroup. Look how clean this regroup is. Oh my god, it is so clean. Moving around the right hand side now. left hand side now, moving around the left hand side now, finish those kills on the right, hit the group on the path. Once again, front edge only, do not go deep. Don't know how these players are getting killed, but they're getting killed. So we just spike on the kills, easy deaths. Moving around the left hand side now, I finish off those JC players. I ignore the Gandara group, it's a smaller group. I want to focus on the JC group. While there's a bit of downtime, just looking at JC in the camp now, just making sure they're not pushing out. It's a choke point, so what do we do in choke points? We do not push through choke points, everybody. That is a suicide push. Your casters cannot follow you through that choke point. Do not push through choke points. You can easily be kite and spiked through choke points, so just don't even bother. We pull off to heal the gate, repair the gate, whatever. I ignore the Gandara group. The other piking group can deal with them. I'm focusing on the Jade C group. So whilst we've got a bit of downtime, I'll do a quick recap. So the recap for your commander groups as they push out is do your party setups, set up your stability rotations, look at the enemy group, the size of the group, how deep you want to push given that size of group, what their damage potential is, if they're heavy melee or heavy ranged, how are they playing as one ball or two separate melee train and peripherals, melee train and casters. How do you want to counter that? Do you want to push the casters? Do you want to hit the melee on the front? You want to try and keep your melee train stacked as tight as possible. This helps in self spikes and kite and spikes. If you're walking backwards very slowly, your melee train is going to be tight, so anyone that comes near you, melee range, is going to get blown up. Like that first push, again, don't push through this archway. Like that first push outside the gate, when that one player went down, when we started kiting and spiking, that's because he went into our melee range, idiot. Your in power timing, here's a nice easy in power, there's nothing in front of us. They start to build siege soon on the top. There it is there, arrow cart siege site. So I'm backing away now. Our other piking group struggling slightly against this Gandara group, so we just turn around and throw a few AoEs onto them. This gives the time for JC to come out of the camp, so they're now out of that choke point. Also in fights you want to position yourself into good positions to fight. You don't want to go in unfavourable positions, you want to have favourable positions. So this arrow cart, I don't want to fight nearby this arrow cart, so I pull away for the left hand side, away from that arrow cart. But not only that, I want to push this JC group to the right hand side. I want to push them against that wall to the camp. So this is a front edge spike, so we spike the melee train as they come in. Lots of kills. Now there's a group in the distance there. Let's push to the caster group there. They're at half health. Try and finish them off. 2 JC groups, remember, so you want to be watching the second JC group. It's going in the top right there on that hilltop, so that's where I'm headed to next. Lots of kills, loads of kills, rally walls everywhere. Nice clean regroup. Fairly close to the enemy group, but they're not actually pushing us. They've gone for a regroup as well, so that was a safer regroup for me. They're resin on the pathway, so I want to push to that group. Eyes on the second group at the archway there, just in case they sideswipe us. So I don't want to push too deep onto the pathway. Here comes the second group coming in now. Again, they're going to the hilltop, so I want to keep that back. I don't want to get pushed, I don't want to get surrounded, so I want to try and keep one area open. And the area I want to try and keep open in this fight is my back to bay. I want to kite towards bay if I need to, so that's why I keep my casters on the back there. Second group comes in, so there's a big self spike on the front edge, doing a back spike. Spike it hard, go for a regroup, nice clean regroup, fairly close once again, but safe because they've gone and pulled off, and now I want to push their regroup. They're small group of players around the downs on this hilltop, so I want to push this left hand group. It's called mostly casters, all half health players, easy kills right there. Now I want to push JC into that wall, so now we move around the left hand side to cut off the escape of the Jade C group. So we're pushing around to this archway now, try and block that off so all these groups can't retreat back into this archway in this choke point. So we push the choke point, stop them from running away. Aggressive in power there because we're under no damage right now. Lots of kills there. Small group towards bay there, so I'm trying to push towards them. Turn around, back spike coming up. Follow the melee train behind us. Got CC'd, but I would have spiked in this archway as they came in, so they should have all died, but they got away because they got CC'd. Now we have the numbers advantage. I don't need to regroup, so now I'm just choo-choo training them all down. Pick a group, chase them down, big stack on the pathway, so we spike it. Again, aggressive in power, no need to regroup, taking very little damage. Empowers on downs, empowers on the kills, guaranteed kills when they're in your melee train for an extended period of time. Again, push towards the archway. Get them in the choke. This fight's pretty much over. There is one more group left of JC just on the hilltop there, so this is the next group I want to push. Look where they're going. They're going around the right hand side, so we do a big self spike on the front edge only. Self spike, spike it, roll out, count to 3, wait for that AoE to clear from them, and then push back onto them. They're going retreating into the archway, so again spike the archway. Do not go through choke points, everybody. You will get spiked on. This is what happens to them. Now, because they have fewer numbers and we have the numerical advantage, we can push through the archway. That's the only time you can push through choke points, is when you have numerical numbers advantage. I regroup in this archway here with empowers because some of our casters will be outside. So if I was to regroup inside the camp, say where I'm standing now, some of our casters won't be able to see me. They'd be line of sighted by the giant wall, so they'd have to run through the archway to drop the water field. If I regroup in the archway, line of sight is both from inside the camp and outside the camp, and they can place their water fields easily and safely. So finally we get to these arrow carts and take them out. That fight's pretty much over. So yeah. So quick couple of little tips. You want to try and give your commands ahead of time, preferably like 3 seconds ahead of time, so it gives players time to react to what you're trying to do. So if you're trying to leap into a group, you want to say, you know, leap left side in 3, 2, 1, regrouping on to hilltop in 3, 2, 1, spike and damage in 3, 2, 1. You want to try and get that as your form that habit of do something in 3, 2, 1, do something in 3, 2, 1. And you also want to try and give your calls direction and depth. So you want to try and say pushing towards hills, go deep, pushing towards garrison side, front edge only, retreat, you know, kite and spike, hold and spike in 3, 2, 1, spike. That's how you do kite and spikes. You kite back, you drop your CCs and all that. Everyone knows when you say kite what to do. You know, as long as you explain ahead of time. You know, when we're kiting, we want you to be dropping CCs in front, chill fields, cripples, immobilizers to try and split the ball up, stretch them out, and then call your spike. You know, self spike in 3, 2, 1, self spike. Do your rollout, and then go back in 3 seconds later to finish them off, or push the regroup. Is another thing you can do. Aggressive empowers will be called on the spike, so when you call your spike, you'd then be screaming empowers on the spike. Or ahead of time, you can also say we're going to empower on the next spike, to give your guardians the time to switch weapons to their staffs. Other things like doing fake pushes before you're ready to actually commit to a fight. You want to try and fake a few things, do, you know, movements left and right to try and open up a flank, so you can do a back spike, try and bait the enemy group into AoEs with fake pushes, bait them into a push by open up a flank for you to then ready to do a back spike, you know, turn around and hit the head of the train. Things like moving waters you want to incorporate into your leading as well. So when you feel like you're strong enough to go for a second push and the enemy has gone for a regroup, you want to do moving waters to try and give a quick little boost to health and then continue the aggressive push. That works well with aggressive empowers, so you can have a little boost of water with a moving water, and then as you push for the second time, you can do aggressive empowers on that push for extra healing as well. Just keeps your health topped off. Moving waters. When you push into groups, remember the 3 areas you want to try and push to: either the head of the train, the midline of the train, or the rear of the train. You need to look at the enemy group to see where their strength lies, where you want to avoid. If they're heavy melee, you want to try and avoid their melee and kite round it. If they're heavy casters, you want to try and push to those casters and kill them quickly, because then they lose all their damage. And if it's a long snake of a group, if, you know, the commander's pushed around the left and there's a lot of players lagging behind, you want to try and push that midline to try and kill the ones that are at the back of the train trying to catch up. They'll have to run through all your spikes to try and catch up to the commander. Be wary of a bait though with the pushing midlines and rear of the enemy groups, because they can do back spiking as well. They can do a counter spike where they accept your push, accept the melee train of you coming in, and then self spike hard. That's the counter to groups that push the rear and the midline. Is if you push the midline or the back of the group and that melee train of theirs turns around, you're surrounded. You've got nowhere to retreat to. You have to push back through their melee to get back to your casters where you started from, to try and get out of that, and that is very dangerous. And that's where a lot of groups wipe, is by getting caught by a melee train that suddenly turns around. And that's why, in my opinion, baiting AoEs to start with fake pushes and then opening up a flank of yours to bait in a back spike is one of the strongest things you can do. as a commander is open up a flank, bait some AoEs, bait a melee push from the enemy group, turn around, take out that melee train instantaneously, or a lot of players of them. If you don't manage to kill them because they drop banners and things, you should have a regroup before they do, because you drop a spike, you roll out of it, you do a quick empower, they're still recovering from that spike because they've got down players. They're still running over and pressing F to try and heal each other. They're trying to drop banners and then get back to their regroup. You should have the advantage. As soon as you drop down players, as soon as you drop people into the down state, you have pretty much won the fight there, because every fight since then you will have an advantage on the regroups. So I hope you enjoyed this video. This is very basic. Some things I have left out, you can watch my other videos for that, but at the time now, this is how I would command right now, is using those little tips and order of things, if you like. You know, what you do before a fight, what you do during a fight, what you do after the fight, after the clash, what you do for regroups, how you regroup, where you want to push, left, right, all that stuff. Anyway, this is the end of the video. I hope this helps. Feel free to comment and give suggestions for future videos. I am thinking of doing a video about bulldozers and monoballs, which is entire blobs as one group, as one giant melee train running at you, does not stop for regroups. Thinking of doing a video of that, but that's for the future. Anyway, goodbye and see you later.